I love a family member and they did something wrong, maybe I'll take the fall for them. That happens in like.
So wait, you think that maybe Tyler's grandfather or father killed, and that Tyler's taking the fall for them?
I'm not saying that.
Do you have any evidence? Do you have any evidence to suggest that bold claim?
It happens. What's going on? I don't want to pick any sides on this. I see, there's a whole court case going on. Everybody has their opinions. And what you say, feelings, okay, you guys want to make fun of people having feelings. But I think folks can say that there are a lot of reasons why the evidence that you want to say a claim is more viable than the other can't be provided or is just conspiratorial. People can say them paving over a crime scene within a couple of days, which is not normal, is one.
Okay, what's normal? How long would have been normal?
I'm not a crime scene or forensic or crime scene investigator. I don't know the typical time period it is, but we can say for a crime like this, I don't think it's typical for a few days.
I will say this. We had a caller call in and show that in Sandy Hook, where many more people were killed, within 72 hours, the crime scene was alleviated. That was a bunch of people shot and killed. And within 72 hours, they're like, okay, that's it. So if they could do that with a bunch of people that were killed, like the question is, I just don't know. Like my feeling is the way that most, like for example, if someone gets shot in inner city Chicago and they're shot in a public park, they put up the caution tape, they come, they collect the ballistics, do everything they need to. And usually it doesn't take that long because it's a public area for them to be like, okay, that's it. We got everything we needed. Take down the crime scene, let it go back to business. I think the campus
did they get everything they need, or did they just give us this like storyline that Tyler's the one who did it, he's the guy, case closed, 33 hours, don't question it? Because here's my thing.
Well, look, real quick. Let me.
I'm not picking sides.
Real quick.
I just have.
You would have to. Can you not hear me? Like real quick.
No, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, provide evidence of that claim, right? Because you're like, you have to give me some evidence why that being the case. So you're going to tell me now why you're skeptical that that's true. So I'm willing to hear.
I'm just saying, I still lean that yes. Okay, Charlie's unfortunately, died, right? The whole thing to me just seems like a young kid, highly, default assassin skills, infiltrate, get out of there, find the perfect place, and then, expresses guilt supposedly through the texts, but wanting to get away with it. Can we
pause for a second? Define to me what default assassin skills means.
All right. I will say
the way he crawled.
No.
Do you find that?
I would say when you get introduced to firearms, your introduction doesn't start with exercising and doing rifle activities, right? For somebody to
Wait, what? The first weapon I ever shot was a rifle.
Here's what the shooter did. The shooter assembled a rifle, right?
Not that hard.
It was deconstructed. He assembled a rifle. Then he did some he had to be active to get to the area to shoot. So, he's doing some physical activities after putting the gun together.
He hopped over a thing that was about this tall.
Yes. And
how many people do you, let me, real quick, how many people do you know that would be incapable of walking up 2 flights of stairs and then climbing over something this tall? How many people do you know that couldn't do that?
I know a lot.
You know a lot of people that couldn't do that. Are they all in wheelchairs?
No.
Okay, of the people that don't have limited mobility, how many people do you know that would be incapable of climbing up a couple flights of stairs and then climbing over a small thing?
Depending on their weight, maybe their
I'm a big fat guy. I can do that easily. I'm a fat guy. I can do that easily. Okay, so give me an idea of the percentage of how many people you think you personally know that couldn't do that.
That couldn't do that?
Yeah.
I'm actually at a university, so there's a lot of people who could. Okay,
let's say back home, forget the university, wherever you grew up. How many people there? What percentage?
I would say older people. I'd say 90%.
90% that you know couldn't?
No, sorry, that could do it.
Okay, well, he's not, Tyler
Yeah.
Robinson's not older. He's a young, healthy guy. So why would we find
Okay,
it odd that he could do this?
I'm saying default assassin skills to take apart a rifle on their first assassination, run to a location,
Well-
do a crawl, take the shot, get away. That's what I mean by default. Most people who commit crimes aren't that savvy. Not people are gonna assemble a rifle and then
It's
go
one
and do
screw.
an act.
It's one screw.
Yes, but that's still
I'm one of the least
on
handy
default.
people you know.
You think somebody's gonna? I feel that there's some sort
I
of.
don't know what you
training or
mean by
pre-planning.
default. I don't mean what you default. This isn't. It's like you're suggesting is here's a person who's never heard of a screw or a screwdriver or
No.
a firearm, and you're just
No.
like, you don't. They don't
I'm
speak
saying
language. You're like,
when you
and they're
take
like,
firearms
and they're like,
classes,
they're like a monkey, like.
No. I'm saying when you take firearms classes or you
And they
take
learn
any sort
how
of
did he figure
firearms
this
training.
out. Now listen,
you don't start
please,
like
please.
that.
I'm giving you a large amount of time to talk. Please, let me.
Yeah.
Right. So the implication here is like, oh my God, how could an average person figure out? First off, this was a rifle that was his grandfather's. That was in his home. He would have been familiar. It's not too hard to realize how to take the stock off a rifle. I bet you could learn it in under 2 minutes. I believe it's one screw. I believe a flathead screw. That's all it takes is to like sort of take that screw off. And then to assemble it would take one screw. Like, I don't think that this is some like Einsteinian act that the average person couldn't figure out.
I'm not saying that. All I'm
Okay.
saying is the influence to be above average of a gun owner, above average of a rifle owner, is there. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Wait. I don't see where you get that. Like, I again, if I'm a rifle owner who has a rifle rack and has no
Yes.
reason to ever disassemble my rifle, I might not ever look into it. But if I'm
Right.
someone who's like, I would like to conceal this rifle, and I have the rifle right here, and I know in 5 days I'm going to try to conceal this rifle, it would probably take me less than 10 minutes to figure out, oh, okay, here's how you unscrew it. I don't think that makes me above average for a gun owner. And even if it did, let me finish, and even if it did, I don't think how above average means that it's likely not possible. All of the evidence points to Tyler Robinson and saying, but I'm skeptical of that evidence because that would require this man to have, quote, default assassin skills. And I'm like, well, what are those skills? And you're like, well, he had to go up 2 flights of stairs. Okay.
I didn't just say that.
And then he had to unscrew a rifle and then screw it back in.
It's a combination.
I don't think those are...
No, it's a combination of picking the roof, the only roof not covered by security, okay? It's a combination of getting in, putting a rifle together,
by the way,
running to the spot. I don't know it's the only roof.
Right.
I don't know
so
it's the
now
only
you're making
roof.
claims. So now you're making claims to your knowledge. There could be 8 other roofs that don't have
But,
this spot.
okay, if you watch the Sean Ryan interview with his security team, he was also surprised that the shooter found that perfect spot because he says if he moves to the left 9 feet, to the right 9 feet, he wouldn't have had a line of sight to Charlie. So the idea that
first
That's
off,
all I'm saying.
now we're making different claims. Let me go through this. I don't know if you heard me say this earlier.
That's what I mean by default.
Let me finish. Right? Let me say, but this isn't default skill he had. This is like you're not claiming that the state's claiming that he infiltrated, found security cameras, saw exactly where they were pointed, knew the one spot. You're not claiming that.
No, I'm saying he either got very lucky or he's talented. Or he has understanding in how to do these sort of things.
No, wait a minute. As far as very lucky, it would seem like that based on your initial claim that this was the only spot. But now you're like, actually, I don't know. There could be other rooftops there without cameras. Okay, right? Secondly, I think he picked this spot because of the line of sight. I think he probably picked it in the moment. In fact, there's an allegation that he walked up and asked the turning point, where's Charlie going to be speaking at? Right here. So he probably said, there's a roof that seems to would look, and it would make sense that that's the spot he would pick. The fact that that spot happened to not be covered by a camera seems incidental. But again, this doesn't fall into, if you're saying, well, it could have just been luck, let me give you this scenario I gave earlier. Let's say we end our conversation in exactly 3 minutes, 45 seconds. Then I wrap up, read super chats for another 7 minutes, 17 seconds. I go downstairs. My wife says, hey, can you go to Dollar General and pick up some toilet paper or paper towels? I say, sure. It takes me 2 minutes to get my shoes on, go out the house. I get out, start up the car. It takes me 17 seconds to turn the car exactly to the radio station I want. I start pulling out. I see my neighbor. I talk to him for 34 seconds exactly. I turn right. I go up the street exactly 1 minute, 17 seconds, and I bump into someone and have a fender bender. That person had an exact similar story. He left his house at that exact time because of a series of situations that led him to that point at that time. If I said, how lucky would we have to be for all of that to match up exactly? You'd say that would be nearly impossible for you all to leave. If it was one thing different, if your neighbor wouldn't have been there, if it was already set to your radio station, that wreck could have never occurred. What are the chances that all that happened? And yet you wouldn't say, what an absurd conspiracy. That's the way shit happens. So no, I don't think that there was assassin skills or anything of that. No,
I'm just saying, yes. It just seems a little strange that, there's a lot of, you're saying, oh, the evidence wasn't there. Candace didn't provide any evidence.
She did. She has an affirmative theory. Her theory is like he was set up as a patsy by the feds. Did she provide any evidence of that?
I mean, the evidence that she provided does seem to be, in my mind, evidence, of things that could potentially lead to a patsy.
What was the first thing she said in that debate that is that?
The first thing that I don't remember the first thing.
But I mean, not chronologically, the top thing that you think was evidence she provided in that debate that Tyler Robinson's a patsy set up by the feds.
For me, I would say just when she was talking around sort of the evidence around the DNA, not so much on the rifle, but things that were given back in the scene of the crime. And also when...
Wait. Let's stop. Okay, yeah. First claim, when she talked about evidence of DNA, but not the rifle.
Yeah.
So when she said there was DNA on the screwdriver and DNA on the towel.
No, not that DNA. I'm talking about when they're talking about this backpack having DNA linked to the security team.
So I don't recall her saying this unless it was in one of her 5-minute rants. But go ahead, explain to me what did she say? There is a backpack. What is that backpack? And
so there was a backpack found that they tested the DNA on along the route of the shooter. They tested it, found it belonged to the security team, and they gave it back. She also went back.
No, wait.
She went into other things.
Wait. Yeah. So there's the route that the shooter allegedly took. Right?
Yes.
That's what you're saying. And on that route was a backpack. And
that's what's confusing to me. I don't know the full story where this backpack was found.
Let me finish. She made the claim. You're saying you get this from the debate. She said this, right?
Well, it's in the court as well.
But she said this. And this backpack, instead of just saying, whose is this or something, they ran a DNA test on the backpack.
Yes.
From that DNA test, they said, this is one of the Turning Point security team.
I don't know. They said Charlie's team. I don't know if they said security.
Okay, it was someone from Turning Point.
Something along that lines, yes. Okay. And I believe there were items in the bag.
Now, let's assume this is true. For now, I don't believe this is the case, but let's accept it as true, that's exactly what happened. How does this prove, even remotely speak to Tyler Robinson being set up as a patsy by the feds? Go ahead.
Because if there's a storyline, the left did this is the guy, and it's not, don't look anywhere else. The other evidence that we found it's not pertinent.
But how does that evidence speak to anything? Would you acknowledge that there could have been all kinds of people's backpacks that would have been on location?
That's true, yes. But
so
how
would finding a backpack speak to evidence that the guy that they charged is a patsy? I don't understand. I'm failing to linearly see the connection.
I'm just saying,
there was a
when you say patsy,
wow, that's weird.
When you say patsy, look, okay. Here's my big thing. It wasn't brought up. The reason why I'm on the side that there's more to this and Tyler's not the only person is because Charlie wanted an audit on TPUSA. Once he died, it stopped.
That is talking about motive. That doesn't speak to the shooting. Prove to me,
motive,
show me the quotes.
You need motive.
Show me the quotes that Tyler wanted an audit on Turning Point USA. Show me the quotes that somehow stopped.
What do you mean?
Show me the quotes where Tyler said, I want an audit. Then he was killed, and they said yes.
Well, yes, there was a Doge audit being done for TPUSA.
So Doge was auditing TPUSA.
No, he started some sort of Doge Doge thing for
So
TPUSA.
so Charlie started his own Doge type audit of Turning Point.
I believe so, yes.
And then they killed Charlie, and then the audit stopped.
I'm not saying they. I'm saying Charlie died.
Someone killed Charlie, and then the audit stopped.
Yes.
Okay, and that's proof to you that likely Tyler Robinson's a patsy.
No, that's not the only proof. I feel
okay. So
like
far,
it's a big motive.
We're asking for evidence that Candace Owens outlined in the debate. So far, I
gave you the backpack.
Let me finish.
That's one.
So far, I have two pieces of evidence. Evidence one is there was a backpack that was owned by a Turning Point guy that was on the scene.
One. That's one.
Okay, just to be clear, a scene where we acknowledge, no one's denying, that there were tons of Turning Point people on the scene.
That's true, yes.
And the fact that there was a backpack that was found that ended up being owned by Turning Point somehow points to you as the most compelling piece of evidence that Candace Owens...
most.
No. I asked you for the most compelling evidence that Candace in the debate offered that Tyler Robinson was set up as a patsy. This is what you brought up.
I said the DNA was some of it was compelling. I would say some of the...
you said the DNA on the backpack, not the gun, not the screwdriver, not the
towel.
Yeah,
I did say that,
You said the DNA... So I just want you to walk me through this. How does that prove Tyler Robinson was... I'm
not saying it proves.
No,
As me, someone objectively looking at this...
Let me finish.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for proof then. I'm asking for, how is this even evidence that pushes in the direction that Tyler Robinson is a patsy?
It ties into my personal kind of curiosity on if there's a motive, right, for Tyler Robinson to be a patsy, what would it be? And for me, it's money. That's me.
Okay, so you're starting at the end. You're saying if it was Turning Point that killed him, how would this have played out? Well, they would have done it for money, and they would have left a backpack. And so therefore, the fact that that backpack's there is evidence that follows into my preconceived notion that they may be the ones that killed him.
Not just that. The way Tyler talks about drop sites for his rifle, who has a drop site for the rifle for themselves? In the text messages,
what would you do? What would you do?
Well, I wouldn't create a drop site for the rifle for myself unless someone else needed to know where this drop site is.
What? Wait. You mean in his note?
Yeah, in his text, he wrote something about I left the rifle at the drop site or drop zone. Right.
Okay.
For that, I would think you would create a drop zone for multiple people to know about.
Okay, so let's start here. Would you have dropped the rifle somewhere?
If I was committing a crime like that, I have no idea, man.
Do you think that it's logical that some person who was committing a crime like this wouldn't just walk around with that rifle for the next 4 weeks? He'd probably drop it off somewhere.
But he wouldn't call it a drop site for himself.
Let me finish. Wait, forget it. Forget that. We're not there yet. Would you acknowledge that he probably would have dropped it somewhere?
Yes, I guess, yes. I don't do crimes, so I don't understand.
And so then if you were going to drop it somewhere and you were communicating with someone else that you dropped it somewhere, how would you describe the site where you dropped it?
Well, I don't know. I'd say I'm going to pick up my rifle. I would say I'm going to pick it up.
Okay, so because you personally...
It's a technical term. That's my thing. It's a technical term. I don't think it's that
technical.
I feel it's a technical term for multiple people.
Are you aware of it? Do you have any sort of have you read a lot of Tyler Robinson's writings that you're aware that this is a term that would be very out of character for him to use or something
I'm not saying that. I'm just giving you the idea that I feel like there's more than one person to this crime, and Tyler might be taking the fall.
Where's your evidence? Show me evidence. A backpack.
I mean, I'm just a regular guy watching this stuff like you, man. I'm just watching it like you.
But yes, I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, I'm open to all theories. Let's hear evidence. And you're like, well, there was a backpack and he used the word drop site.
Okay. It might not rise to, the positive evidence that you want, but these are the things with the audit, the motive. Okay, Tyler could have just had these skills, killed the guy, didn't like for what he said, and that's it.
Okay, what's more likely, that Tyler Robinson did this or that he was set up as a patsy by the feds?
I mean, it's hard to say, man. It's really hard to say that he did this on his own.
Okay, let pause back. What's the evidence that you think Candace won the debate, correct?
I would say this debate really, I wouldn't say there was a clear winner, but there were some interesting points for each side.
Okay, fair enough. Good
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
So, and
yeah.
when I ask you for Candace's claim that there was overwhelming evidence that he was set up by a patsy, what was the claim she made? Forget about you and your
I
personal
think
research.
I think
So far,
maybe
we
it would
have the
be
backpack.
I think it would be maybe when she was talking about the rifle could have been planted or um other things, like it was the maybe the DNA on the rifle. I can't remember every claim
Okay,
was
okay.
made.
Let's stop and take these one by one. She said that the rifle could have been planted, right?
Sure,
Fair
yes.
enough. Can you name me any murder ever where it isn't hypothetically possible that the murder weapon was planted? Can you name me one where that wouldn't be the case?
I mean, like that happened everywhere.
Right, that would be every single murder.
Yes.
Hypothetically, it's in the realm of possibility the weapon could have been
Right.
planted. You would say, so for example, O.J. Simpson or another famous murder trial, you would say, I don't accept it as evidence that makes it likely that this person's innocent just because it's hypothetically in the realm of possibility that someone could have planted a weapon. You'd say, I'm going to need more than that because we
Right.
could say that about every killing.
Right.
Okay, so then
And I'll give you
now,
that.
all
I'll
right.
give you
Let
that.
me. Okay, so then when I ask, what's the evidence Candace gave? Number one, there was a backpack owned by someone at Turning Point. Okay.
There's
Number two,
also
let me
yes.
finish. Number two, I know you keep saying there's also, so we're going one
Yes.
by one because you're like, all the evidence is adding up to this conclusion. Number one, there's a backpack. You're like, yeah, okay, that pretty much does nothing. Number two, when she said someone could have planted the gun, you're like, yeah, that pretty much doesn't do anything. Cool, we've dispensed with those two. Number three, you said the degradation of DNA on the rifle.
I'm not sure it was the rifle. I don't know the technical like every DNA, like there's a screwdriver, there's the rifle,
Okay,
there's
pause.
a towel.
Of the things that Candace said, when
Yeah.
something about her saying DNA to you said, yeah, that might be evidence that Tyler was set up as a patsy. Explain in your own words. She says something about DNA, and that triggers in you, maybe this shows that Tyler Robinson's a patsy. What was it?
I would say it was the multiple DNA evidence found on, I think it was either the rifle or the screwdriver, and them saying that it had like 5 contributors or more than one. Some of it be degraded, and some of it being like there's like you know 2 individuals that could be the main contributors. I don't really know how all the evidence works, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, there's a possibility that there's more than one person and someone's taking the fall for it.
Okay, we would acknowledge. Would you acknowledge in any murder that's ever been committed when someone was convicted that there's a quote possibility that another person was involved?
Yes.
Okay, so we're at the same stage here we are with every murder ever. Now let's get to the DNA. The DNA, you're like something about degradation and something about multiple people's DNA being on a weapon. I don't want to ask you that. That might be too personal. Would you acknowledge that someone that owns a firearm likely has multiple people that have touched that firearm?
Are there multiple people they live with?
Sure.
I would say no.
So just to be clear, you think that most people that own a weapon, their human hands have been the only hands to have ever touched that weapon? Even when they're borrowing that weapon from their grandfather who gave it to their father that then gives it to them. You think it would be suspicious for the grandfather and the father's DNA or prints to be on the gun, even though they owned it and let their son borrow it?
Well, okay, if you put it like that, I don't really know how prints work. I'm just saying, like, if you own a handgun, right, for your personal defense, it's not like if you have a family member, your brother or your sister is holding your handgun for self-defense.
Well, I think that there's probably a lot of times where you're like, check this out, and people touch it. In other words, it wouldn't be unusual
Some
to find.
people.
I don't think it would be unusual at all for a rifle that wasn't owned by this guy, that was owned by his father and his grandfather, to find that multiple people's prints and DNA was on the rifle. That doesn't
Right,
sound
I'm just saying,
unusual. Does that sound unusual?
Not everybody lets their roommate and other
fine.
folks handle
Yes,
the
you're
gun.
right.
Yeah.
If you put it in the terms of not everyone, yes, a small percentage of people, maybe that isn't occur. Would you acknowledge in this situation, given what we're told about the gun ownership, that it's not unusual that multiple people's DNA was on the gun?
Sure, yes.
Okay, how is that evidence that Tyler Robinson's a patsy?
I'm just saying it leads to if I love a family member and they did something wrong, maybe I'll take the fall for them. That happens in like
So
when people
wait,
do
you
crimes.
think that maybe Tyler's grandfather or father killed, and that Tyler's taking the fall for them?
I I'm not saying that.
Do
I'm
you
just
have
saying
any
it happens.
evidence? Do you have any evidence to suggest that bold claim?
It happens.
Yes,
It
that happens,
happens.
but we're talking this particular case.
Right.
When you're like, so you acknowledge, you're like, well, here's another thing that's suspicious. Multiple people's DNA was on the rifle. And I'm like, well, this was an heirloom. It was handed down, right? So it would make sense. You're like, yeah, but maybe Tyler's covering up for one of those other people's DNA. So now the theory is the father or the grandfather maybe committed the murder and Tyler's taking the... Okay, then who is this other random person that maybe committed this murder that Tyler's taking the fall for, whose prints were on the gun? Who is it? If it's not the father or grandfather,
do you want me to just speculate or?
Yes. Right now, you have someone in your mind.
Okay, I think most people would be suspicious that their boyfriend committed a crime, a political crime, killing Charlie for trans issues, but they never talked about it. And also,
so one,
that
it's
he
not
burned
true.
up.
His family said that he specifically talked about Charlie and how much he hated him. Secondly, was Lance Twiggs' DNA?
That's also strange.
Was Lance Twiggs' DNA on the? Wait, just to be clear, it's strange that he didn't talk about Charlie, and now it's strange that he did talk about Charlie.
No. It's strange that he talked to his family about Charlie, but Lance is claiming he didn't talk to him about it.
That's true. That's what Lance is claiming. That doesn't seem that unusual. Was
And
Lance Twiggs? Was Lance DNA on the rifle?
I didn't follow it that close. I'm not.
No, it wasn't.
Sure.
It wasn't. So if Lance Twiggs was the actual killer, right? Why wasn't his DNA on the rifle?
I believe it was on like a towel or something.
Right, a towel, probably a jizz rag that two lovers were using,
Yes,
and a screwdriver.
yeah,
right, but Lance Twiggs never was Charlie Kirk murdered with a towel?
No, but supposedly
was he murdered with a screwdriver?
No, he wasn't.
He was murdered with a gun, right?
Right.
Or an explosive charge. Nonetheless, on the alleged weapon, we don't see Lance Twiggs' DNA. So how is it that you're like, I find it suspicious that multiple people's DNA is on the gun, and therefore one of those people may have committed the murder, and when I ask you who, you're like, this guy whose DNA wasn't on the gun.
I wasn't aware that Lance's DNA wasn't on the gun.
That's right, because Candace lied to you. She said over and over
she didn't lie. She
admitted in this debate. She admitted in this debate that wasn't the case. But yes, she did lie to her audience
as I go, right?
As somebody watching, you watched the debate. You watched the debate, correct?
And here's the big thing. If Lance had nothing to do, yes.
Okay.
If Lance had nothing to do,
then you heard Candace admit Lance Twiggs' DNA was not in the rifle. She was mistaken when she said that.
I don't know if she said the rifle or some of his DNA was found. No, she specifically
said, we brought the clip up. She said, you don't even have to bring the clip. I misunderstood. His DNA wasn't on the rifle. And then we played the clip, and she said, yeah, I already said that. So you know that Lance Twiggs' DNA wasn't on the rifle. So when I ask you what's suspicious, when you're like, here's something suspicious, multiple people's DNA on the rifle.
But it was found on other things, was it not?
Let me finish. And you said, well, because sometimes someone can murder someone and then take the rap for someone else. I'm like, so you're claiming that someone else, that DNA was on the rifle, may have done the murder? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, who? And you're like, Lance Twiggs. And I'm like, but his DNA wasn't on the rifle. And you're like, yeah, I know.
You're lumping it in together. I said other DNA was found. Someone could have put there. He could have took the fall for someone, you know.
But wait. How did Lance Twiggs murder Charlie Kirk with the 30-06 without touching the 30-06?
I didn't say that. I find yeah.
Okay, so then what is it? I want you to jump for me logically. You say, I'm suspicious there were multiple people's DNA on the rifle, correct?
Yes.
I say, why? You say, because sometimes people murder someone and take the cover for someone else, right? That's where we went. I said, okay, so then the other people's DNA we know are like Tyler Robinson's father, Tyler Robinson's grandfather. Are you suggesting someone like that committed the murder? You said, that's not what I'm suggesting. I said, you have someone else in mind when you're talking about the DNA on the rifle that maybe did it. Who is it? You said, I think the boyfriend. I say, but Lance Twiggs' DNA wasn't on the rifle. You say, yeah, I know that. You don't see the problem in logic here? Again, your suspicion with the rifle is
I'm suspicious of these dudes, man.
And
I'm just saying.
And then you're like, well, maybe Lance Twiggs did it, but he's not one of the people whose DNA is on the rifle, which you're admitting. So how does the multiple people's DNA on the rifle, because one of those people did it, how is that suspicious when you're admitting, no, I think this guy who didn't touch the rifle did it?
Well, if the rifle was used and that's the murder, like from this narrative, right, that Tyler shot him, right? I would say, yes, if that's the gun and Tyler's DNA is on the gun and, they're saying he did it. Let's say he did it. Okay. But I just find it kind of odd that Lance has these omissions, right? I'm asleep. He never talked about Charlie with me, although he did with his family. He burned up the confession list. He burned it up. Okay.
His boyfriend said burn it. You find that suspicious?
So, hey, I'm just gonna kill this guy, and there's this admission, and burn it for me, please.
Yeah. And then he contacted the authorities, and then they salvaged what they could of the note, and he showed them the other note that was written, and he showed them all of his text messages. Yeah.
So, okay,
why would he do all that if he was trying to cover up? Why burn the note? If he knew he was going to pin it on Tyler Robinson, why burn up the note? Doesn't burning the note speak to the opposite of your conclusion? That he's trying to cover up for Tyler? But if he was intentionally setting Tyler up to take the fall, why burn the note? Why not leave it there?
Whoa. Hold up. Slow down. Why not leave it there if you're going to blame it on your boyfriend?
Correct. If your boyfriend wrote a note or is alleged to have wrote a note that said, I did it, and you plan on blaming your boyfriend, why would you destroy the evidence that exonerates you?
That's what's confusing. So he says burn the note, but I'm going to admit it to it through text.
Correct.
And then Lance burns the note, and then that's what's confusing about it, man.
It perfectly makes sense. That what happened was Lance. Yeah, let me explain a theory. You tell me what part of this wouldn't make sense. He says burn the note. He does it because he loves this guy. Then he burns it. Then he starts to panic and say, holy fuck. Eventually the feds are going to get access to these electronic communications. Tyler's going down. I'm going to go down. I'm going to contact the feds and say, look, here's the evidence. Here's what I have. I tried to burn this note in the heat of the moment because I love him.
Yes.
Here's what I salvaged. That doesn't make sense?
I mean, if you're going to, it could be.
Okay, what's the competing interpretation? That he wants to blame Tyler, but he intentionally burns evidence linking Tyler to the crime, but saves other evidence to present it. Why would he burn part of the evidence if his plan was to set up Tyler?
No. I don't think his plan was. I feel like if Tyler killed Charlie Kirk by himself, Lance was a big part of this. And this was a plan.
How?
I mean, if you're dating
just
somebody
by being
who's
his
trans,
lover.
You're dating somebody who's trans and somebody is speaking bad on their community. I guess you would probably hear from the person in that community that this guy's evil.
So
him.
now we've jumped from it was a backpack was her evidence to something she said about DNA like on the gun, but actually I think that's suspicious because someone whose DNA on the gun could have committed this. But I think Lance Twiggs did it, even though I acknowledge his DNA wasn't on the gun. And the reason let me finish. Now, and then you were like, I find it. Let me please. Let me finish. Yeah. Then you're like, I also find he used the word drop site, which by the way, as a super chatter says, is a term frequently used in Helldivers, a game that they played. But I find that to be suspicious. And then you're like, and the reason, here we go. Because even though allegedly he talked shit on Charlie Kirk to his family, he didn't to Lance. So just to be clear, the implication here would be he never really talked shit on Charlie?
No, I would say they planned this together.
Okay, they planned it together. Who was the trigger man?
Who's the trigger man? And from the evidence the state brought, we would say that the trigger man would be Tyler Robinson.
Okay, if you think that these two planned it together, do you think it was an exploding microphone that killed him?
Now that's interesting because to get people like this to commit an assassination, they're in group chats, they're in discords. Now, if it wasn't the gun that was fired, I will say that Andrew got that part of the debate incorrect about the exploding mic theory. Yes.
No, wait. Walk me through this. So Lance and Tyler are talking secretly and they're like, we fucking hate Charlie Kirk. Now let me see if I can see where you're going with this. So they're on Discord. Now none of their Discord buddies that are also there came forward and said, these guys were always bitching about Charlie Kirk. So they're covering up too? Yes or no?
I don't know. I don't know if that's
maybe they are, maybe they're not. But at some point while they're on Discord, a Fed, an Israeli, catches wind of these two people bitching about Charlie Kirk. And they're like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create an exploding mic device, right? And we're somehow going to get it on the neck of Charlie Kirk. And we're going to set you guys up. And they're like, okay, that's your theory? How did Lance Twiggs or Tyler Robinson get an exploding mic on Charlie Kirk? Did they wear a wig
I
and put
wouldn't
the mic
say
on him?
that's okay, yes. Now, that wouldn't be done through Lance Twiggs or Tyler, right?
Okay, so who did that?
I mean, who did that? If that happened, they would have to, like, I'm not saying that happened, right? I would say during the debate, those claims that were brought up and Andrew trying to debate them, I think he got that part wrong.
What part? She didn't.
So-
he literally
so,
said,
okay.
"Are you saying it? It's an exploding mic?" And she's like, "I don't know. I'm not really saying anything."
She said
And he was like,
projectile.
"Wouldn't there have been?" She said,
Yes.
"Okay." And he said, "If it was an exploding mic, wouldn't there have been smoke?" For
Smoke,
example,
yes.
with the pagers that we're saying, it was like there was smoke before.
If it's
and
the same type.
she basically said nothing. So what was it that he was wrong about with that?
I think when you try to describe how a bullet moves air as it's getting to its target location, he was incorrect about that. And
A
also,
bullet doesn't dispense air when it's getting to its
no,
target
it
location.
does. It does.
Okay.
But let me finish. Also, how Charlie Shirk moved, he was incorrect about that.
Okay, so you don't think it's possible for a bullet for a 30-06 to make a shirt move that way?
I personally don't have the expertise to say it does.
But you're
or
saying
doesn't.
you're saying he was wrong, which means when he said no, the air displacement and the kinetic force
Yes,
because of
yes.
shirt, you're saying he's wrong, which means you are definitively saying it's not possible for a bullet to move a shirt like that.
From what I've seen, people have recreated what he said with a house of cards, putting a gun up, seeing if it moves the house of cards, putting other things up, and then going to look at how the shirt moved. I find it like, all right, Andrew, I don't know if I can back you on that claim because it's kind of moving a little bit strange. I mean, to me. And then, yes, it's a stretch to say Tyler kind of had this, like Tyler could get it on them. But I am saying that it is kind of strange, how that shirt is moving for a bullet.
So how's this shirt normally move when someone gets shot?
I would guess not like that.
Okay, but how does it normally move?
I mean, in the neck, if they're getting shot in the neck.
Sure. But explain to me if they get shot in the neck, and then let's go shoulder, and let's go torso. And explain to me the difference in how the shirt moves each time being shot with that. Go ahead.
I mean, I would guess that the air wouldn't move from under the shirt, right? And it wouldn't, like, it kind of puffed over Charlie's cheek.
But no,
like
I know
this.
what it wouldn't do. I'm asking you what it
Right.
would do.
So, I mean, you're just asking me to speculate?
Yes, I'm asking you. Have you seen footage of
I'm
other
guessing
people
it
being
would
shot?
actually move sort of like inward, I guess, first.
Are you
like-
some sort of ballistics expert that's
then move
capable
outwards?
of making judgments like these?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so you've heard Candace Owens supporters saying, yeah, and you saw them set up playing cards and
Not
shoot
just
playing
Candace
cards?
Owens. I've seen like people who run those like, home defense channels, rifles, firearms channels do sort of tests like that, right? So I'm just saying, I can agree. Like, Candace is doing her thing. Her and Charlie were friends. She has these theories. That's her claims. The state has theirs. I kind of feel like, yeah, Tyler Robinson and Lance probably might have done this together, but could they have been influenced or
Let me ask you
paid
this.
to do
you
this?
do you think a 30-06 shot could do this?
Yes.
Well, that looks pretty similar.
Can you?
Would it shock you? Would it shock you to know that was a 30-06 that did this? Wow, look at that. Let's put it in slow motion.
Ooh,
shall
that
we?
is. I mean, yeah, it's compelling, man. That's what I'm saying.
Let's see.
It is.
Ready?
It is
Slow motion.
I'm not
Watch.
on a single side
Watch.
or the other. Right?
Look at that. Look how it looks like it moves from the inside out. Do you see that? That's almost identical. That was a 30-06 that they set up using ballistic gel that did that. Now,
Right.
how is that possible? It's not possible. That doesn't happen. You saw them shoot playing cards and it didn't do that, right?
I've seen a few of them, not everybody.
So do you think these people are lying? Do you think
No,
that
I'm not
wasn't
saying
really
they're
a
lying. I'm just saying from what I've seen, somebody who's just following this online, watching the debate. Somebody who's watching the debate. The debate was good, but I wouldn't say that Andrew lost too bad, Candace won too bad, Andrew won really well. I wouldn't say that. I would say that there were evidence brought that can lean one side or
I
the
don't think
other.
you know what you're talking about. I think you're.
I mean,
listen,
you just don't want me. You want me to say that Tyler did it.
Here's what I'm saying. No, I don't want you to. You watch the debate. You can have
Right.
your own theories. You watch the debate. I'm like, what's the evidence that she provided? Because the whole day I've been like, can someone tell me the evidence she's provided? That
And I
it's
gave you some.
overwhelming. Let me finish. That Tyler's a patsy. And here's what I've gotten so far. Apparently, quickly, she mentioned a backpack. And from that, you
That
took
was it.
initially. Let me finish. I'll outline the case. You just tell me if I'm wrong. I'm going to go one by one through what you said. The most compelling piece of evidence, I said, give me the most compelling, she said. You're like, she mentioned a backpack. And DNA from that backpack ended up proving that this backpack was owned by a Turning Point USA person that was on the scene of the crime. That was your first argument, correct?
Yeah.
I said, I don't think it would be unusual that at a Turning Point event, when all of this scrambling's going around and someone was just killed, that there would be a backpack left there. You're like, yeah, I agree. Correct?
Can I add to that? There was also
Sure.
things found in the backpack they discussed in the case. That's why I brought it up. I think
Like
there were
what?
gloves. There were gloves
Okay.
and other things that were also black, I believe.
Okay, so a pair of black gloves were found in a backpack that was owned by Turning Point USA.
Along the route of the shooter, supposedly.
Along the route of the shooter. So the shooter went up the low sea, was like,
That's what's
okay.
confusing to me. Because
Well, what's confusing?
I mean, I'm not on one side or the other. Confusing part is they said this backpack was found along the route of the shooter, but from the video footage, we see the shooter jump from the roof and then run, towards that wooded area. So where was this backpack found?
I don't know. You tell me. Candace
I think
made
they
this
said
argument. Let me
said-
finish. Let me
they said it was
please.
by a bus stop,
Please.
actually.
You said
Yeah.
Candace made the argument. Where did she say it was found? You're just judging this from the argument Candace made. I don't even remember Candace talking about this backpack, but you said when PBD was like, oh, what evidence would it take you to believe this theory? And she went in this 5-minute ramble. At some point there, she mentioned this backpack. That's your claim? I don't remember it, but fair enough. So where did she say the backpack was shown?
In that part, she didn't say where it was found, but in the court, preliminary hearing, they said it was found at a bus stop, abandoned.
Here's what I have. I'll admit this is cheating, but I used AI, right? It says there's no report of a Turning Point USA backpack being found on the shooter's route. Surveillance video presented in the preliminary hearing shows Tyler Robinson carrying a blue backpack during one of his earlier visits to campus around 10 a.m. on September 10th, 2025. He's seen walking across campus with it. He goes into a wooded area northwest of Campus Drive while carrying it. When he returns to campus a short time later, the backpack's gone. Investigators noted in this testimony that Agent David Hall, but they never identified the backpack as a Turning Point USA item, nor, oh, wait, 1 second. Nor, let me finish, sorry. Nor have they said it was a Turning Point USA backpack was recovered along the path, the rooftop, the woods, the escape route. They recovered a Mauser rifle, screwdriver, short forearm palm impressions on the rooftop, but no backpack. I guess, where is this backpack mentioned? I'm not saying it didn't happen.
The backpack is
now
mentioned during the preliminary hearing, yeah.
Okay, but they said during the preliminary hearing, this was his backpack. It wasn't a Turning Point backpack.
No. In the preliminary hearing, when they're talking about the forensics and DNA found, they returned the backpack back because they said it belonged to Charlie's team, right? And that's
Did they
one thing.
return a backpack they said belonged to Charlie's team?
You're asking AI?
Yeah. I'll ask
I'm not
Google
trying to trick you,
whatever,
man. This is
whatever search you
yeah.
want. What's weird is I've listened to Baron Coleman, I've listened to Candace Owens. None of this was like high up on their list of things that are really unusual.
No,
I
I mean,
haven't
they
heard
got their
this
own
claim.
productions, right?
I didn't hear it in the debate. It must have been something. I don't know that it was said at all. It must have been something that was said flippantly. In fact, if I go to the footage of the debate, I'll go to Andrew Wilson's and I'll see if the transcript's available. And I'm going to search the term backpack.
Backpack, yeah, good.
Okay.
And I'm not saying, I'm confused by this whole.
All right, so it says
thing,
FBI initially took the screwdriver, and then when I heard the testimony, things that didn't found were suspicious. Example being the backpack. There's something that really bothers me. That they said they traced the shooter, they traced the route he went on. And then there was an abandoned, we know it looks like he's wearing some sort of backpack. We know there was an abandoned backpack found at a bus stop in front of a library, and they felt this should have been taken into evidence. They took it to the FBI. This was the testimony of Amanda Baker, I believe her name is, but you might want to fact check because I'm blending last names. So she was the forensics for the FBI. And then she says she gets on the 13th and they stop testing this backpack because they find the backpack belongs to someone on Charlie's team. But if you know the map of the layout of campus, you're going, well, what the hell were they doing this way up? This is nowhere near anywhere. And by the way, that's not an acceptable answer that you just gave it back. That's not like, why would you give it back? So your claim was it was on the route of the shooter. What she's saying is it was nowhere near that. It was at a random bus stop.
Oh, why would you got that wrong. I got that wrong.
Okay, so then the evidence that's most compelling to you is at a bus stop, they found a backpack that belonged to Turning Point. And they gave it back.
That's one of the things.
Explain to me how that even speaks to anything untoward.
Well, untoward would be like if Tyler Robinson is the fall guy or Patsy or somebody set these kids up to plan this assassination, you know, there might be people leaving things for them to help them out or supposedly to pick things up for them. I don't know, man. I'm just a regular guy, right?
But for that's not evidence. Weird. I mean, for God's sakes.
It's weird that random kids would do this shit. Like, why would two kids do this to Charlie?
We have the state's evidence. We have DNA evidence. We have confessions. We have his car being seen at the scene. We have his car going back to where the gun was, having a partial plate. We have his parents saying, yeah, it looked like you. And he's like, I'm going to end my own life. Yes. Like, we have all that. And you're like, well, on one evidence, we have this. And on the other, there was a backpack found at a bus stop.
Yes,
so,
but here's
tomato,
my thing,
tomato.
Man. Here's my thing. It's just strange. A 4.0 student can get this, like, can dislike Charlie, who's like letting people debate him, to go and kill him, right? To be that skilled to find the only rooftop to kill him when you can go up to the mic and debate him.
I just think, look, I'm going to have to let you go. I don't think that, like, if your argument is Candace provided evidence he was a patsy by saying, I think it's weird that they found this backpack, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty good evidence that she proved.
I'm not just saying that. I'm
what
saying
else
the
did she say?
over.
What she? Okay, the paving over. How does that explain that Tyler Robinson is a patsy?
Not just the paving over. The other guy who jumped up and I did it.
Packet. They now we're getting. They found a random backpack. That's evidence one. He used the word drop site. That's evidence two. There was other DNA on the rifle, but no one whose DNA was on the rifle did it other than possibly Tyler Robinson. That's number three. He never specifically mentioned Charlie to Lance Twiggs, but did to his family. That's number four. They paved over something. That's number five. George Zinn said, I did it. That's number six.
Yeah, because if like someone brought up the idea, I think it's that dude, the Viva Frey, said it's possible in a chat room these guys were like made the dudes to go the mile to do it. Did
Candace mention George Zinn in the debate?
I don't think she did, no.
Okay, so how are you evaluating that as the evidence Candace presented?
I mean, Candace brought up a lot of evidence I'm probably not even talking about, or what she calls evidence.
But you're watching it and you're like, I don't know, I thought it was about each.
Dude, look, I'm also a big weed smoker, so I don't remember everything, man. So what am I?
All right, man.
You're gonna ask me? All right. I'm not gonna remember everything.
Well, hey, I appreciate you trying, so thanks for calling.
All right, dude. All right.
I don't know what to say.